Welcome back to the Techno-Communism show. I'm going to focus on two kinds of ideas today, which is computer programs that are able to create new computer programs in a kind of self-sustaining feedback loop. This probably seems like a fanciful thing, but it's become something closer to a reality in recent months, and more so perhaps in recent days, according to the tech trades. And also, um, uh, unemployment that results from this kind of a new wave of automation, which isn't exactly fanciful so much as a kind of distraction or abstraction that's mostly in this kind of commentary divorced from um, real concern for working people. So you'll have people who are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in writing for mainstream publications or with big YouTube channels. All of these kind of folks talking about how a pretty specific group of mostly European descended people might have their work, programmers and such, become a little more difficult. Meanwhile, in back in reality, in the North American continent, in these United States, you have about 65% of workers making an unlivable wage, having unusually, unnaturally high housing costs, and unnaturally low wages. 65% of those workers, that is, working almost that number, working just in the service type jobs alone, and an even larger number then not earning enough, still in that same trap, not earning enough to live on this path that's been was set out for Americans quite deliberately and across the course of the later 20th century. It's described in some detail in the Powell Memorandum, how we're going to keep everyone on the razor's edge rather than letting them own homes, or effectively making it difficult for them to own homes or even stay housed. And thus, this will serve to uphold private wealth and the capitalistic, fascistic system that maintains it, and humanity be damned. No concern, of course, for the fall off in life expectancy, for example, that occurred because of this, or just anything good in this world. Um, and this, so when you have people talking about AI unemployment, um, where the obvious question is what are you comparing that to? This has already happened. High degree of automation occurred in the late 1800s into the 1900s and into this century. So much of that occurred, but for the most part, people did not get better jobs, and there was a kind of deindustrialization of the United States, and so the people who did retain jobs are now working in the service industry, or not working at all, marginally employed, and for the most part, people who comment on technology are um, they're not oblivious to this. It's quite intentional. Their job is to frame this in a way that does not describe the concerns of working people. I'm going to talk a little bit about these two things, and a little bit about the possibilities of superintelligence. And before I forget, I guess I'll describe a little bit about what I think this word means in practical terms for people today, even without um, uh, dramatic dramatic effects of further job loss, further, or some other effects like what's described in this kind of recursion scenario, where large language models and machine learning um, products are able to create more machine learning products. That's a recursion scenario that's been described. I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second. But so I don't consider myself to be a particularly a learned person, a particularly good writer, or any of those kind of things that you would associate with an erudite individual. Um, if I have any kind of competitive advantage over some people of this kind or people generally, it's that I think I have a pretty good ability to spot bullshit. And so this, think about what this chatbot is capable of. In contrast, this Llama 2, for example, the one that I suggest that people download and use, or any of the other comparable chatbots, um, they have an awful lot of information that they can compile very quickly. So you could say that the chatbot has a good deal more knowledge than yourself than you could possibly have across a broad variety of subjects. So that in and of itself, um, as a thing that you are able to make use of, to me is suggestive of a human uh, AI hybridization. It's suggestive of a kind of early superintelligence. And when so think of so I wrote a short book, a pamphlet um, about superintelligent collectivization, and I'll link it. I'll link it here. It's called "How to Use AI to Build Communism in Your Lifetime." Because if we don't, human beings will soon become extinct. And without these chatbots, I don't think I could have written this in a very coherent way. Like I said, I am in as coherent a way, perhaps. Like I said, I don't see myself as the most learned person in any of these areas. But um, the chatbot can generate a lot of relevant content, and it becomes a thing where you can look at this and say, oh well, that's off topic. Um, that's not unique or meaningful. And if you're looking at a lot of such things, and then some of these things start to pop out. And that's an oversimplification, or perhaps taking some of credit away from some of the work that I actually did in writing something like this, such as it is. But I think it's important because that's kind of the whole idea of this sort of thing for me, that human beings are going to become better planners and better at working together with one another to such a degree. I mean, I don't mean to be cruel, but I don't think of human beings as they are as sapient creatures. I think that we have mythologized our actions and our experience to a high degree, so that we think that this is beautiful and important. But I think that a more honest view of this is that we are beings that lack even the most basic um, intelligence that would allow us to really plan for our own survival, right? We're not going to survive on the path that we're on. No one seems to really care too much about that. Not enough, and not able to take action or bring others together to prevent this thing from happening. Capitalism's climate apocalypse, a climate death spiral that we're about to be locked into within the next 5 years if we don't um, um, dramatically change these systems and this consumption and the governance, all of this. This has to happen in a very short time. Otherwise, we'll be permanently in breach of the 2-degree warming, and that is very, very likely to cause billions and billions of people to die over the course of the years to follow. That's not good news, and people seem to just want to ignore that because they don't know what to do. And I think of that as itself a lack of intelligence. It's more complicated than that, perhaps, but it doesn't matter, right? Not being able to ensure your own survival is a lack of intelligence, in my view. And so maybe I'll go into something here that is more optimistic in a moment, because that's rather dire. But the point is that this this some part of what I've written and talked about on the show in recent weeks is about the use of brain-computer interfaces of a non-surgical and non-invasive kind to facilitate this transition, because we have to do a lot in a short time, and brain-computer interfaces, I think, could help to get us there. At least, if not in that 5 year time frame, could continue to do some of that work in the years after. But it's not a necessary aspect, and that's and really the only necessary aspect is the collectivism itself, and the use of more powerful tools, and the demand to build people's governments on every continent that will be in a position to create sustainable economies. That means banning certain kinds of products in defiance of people who are currently profiting from them. All of this is basically invented in the U.S. Right? Petrochemical products are basically invented in the U.S. At the end of the Second World War. A lot of it, the things that really cemented the damage, like single-use plastics becoming ubiquitous in the West and extremely common elsewhere, and all of this is basically born out of to a high degree out of the Second World War efforts and technologies, and applying them then to civil society in a bad way. But all of this, and basically almost all fossil fuel products, and and livestock systems, not actual automated food production generally, not automated farming of other things, but automated farming of livestock and the consumption of livestock products, animal products, needs to be removed as well. These are overwhelmingly the number one and two causes of capitalism's climate apocalypse. These are all capitalistic sectors. They are all deal breakers, right? If we don't if we don't change this dramatically and remove these things, human beings will be extinct. And you can say, oh, it's hard to do, and that might be true. I don't believe that it's hard to change your diet. I believe that that's more of a cultural thing, but it is hard to say, well, what do I do about the fact that Dow Chemical exists? What do I do about the fact that General Motors exists? So that's that. But the fact of it being difficult, and the fact of these people being essentially committed to killing themselves and all of us, doesn't mean that we should give up. Well, I don't know that I quite got my point across there about how this kind of writerly process of generating a lot of content and then determining what is the best of it and using that to then do rewriting is a form of early superintelligence. But I think you can imagine quite easily what a more powerful digital assistant than these that are in use could do for you as an organizer, as a person, as a collectivist, as a communist, in trying to work with others to build these new systems. The very idea of AI recursion suggests a tremendous amount of the hard work of some of this being able to be done automatically, and this is true of every kind of bureaucracy and every kind of thing. This is very much the focus of this other piece that I wrote pretty recently called About the United Earth Directorate, describing how some of that would work. Well, let's talk a little bit about this notion of recursion. So a company has stated that they are on the verge of being able to. Geez, I'm losing my note. Let's see. Well, this was the title. I'll read the title that that Llama gave to this because I thought it was kind of funny sounding, but also actually kind of worked on a certain level. So they said that this should be called Techno Revolution, pioneering a self-sustaining wave of people-powered governance through AI ingenuity. And this is in reference to this company AIZip, which has unveiled that it has been able to use their machine learning products to author other machine learning products, which could in turn author more machine learning products in a self-perpetuating loop. So is this a leap in technology beyond any others from AIZip? Probably not. But it's suggestive of something that could be happening very soon, which is a tremendous proliferation in the ability to generate a work product. Then the question becomes, what is that going to be used for? And the only thing that it should really be used for or even could really be used for, is creating these new things like self-maintaining bureaucracies instead of um, the laughable economic system that we have that is dedicated solely to private wealth. Um, uh, well, I wanted to read a little bit about AI Zip and they're what they're doing. Uh, uh, well, this is why I didn't used to do live shows. Because I would edit around the stuff where I just started mumbling or didn't quite know what to say, um, or just not post it and re-record it some other time. But oh well, I guess I'm not really feeling it this morning. Um, well, this is an important, I think, kind of idea. Nevertheless, the it's been a holy grail of computer scientists for quite some time. This varying um, varying paths, various paths to something like recursion. And so the fact that people are claiming this now, and it sort of passes the laugh test with our understanding of AI generated content being able to be built upon to make more AI generated content, um, uh, that and that has problems in and of itself. But it's like everything about um, this this AI takeoff of facts. It's it's an AI takeoff is no more interesting than an AOL Time Warner merger under the present economic system. So that's why I do this show and tag people on this, so that hopefully can maybe start talking about this in the context of the things that you're otherwise talking about. Um, Most of the people that I'm tagging this are people who are very interested in um, building a people's government in the country where they live. And I don't think that is a realistic prospect without a demand for using advanced computing. In it, it doesn't seem as likely to occur in that 5 year time frame, or get us on track to building a sustainable world in the time that human beings might have left, if we're not talking about advanced technology as a big part of this every single day. So, people have said, please, what are you doing with all of these tags? So I'm going to try to be better about that. But, this is talking about extinction level events here. You're, you're, the people who are complaining about this are just kind of posting, cultural Pokemon, just garbage, and or just kind of woo-woo stuff. It's like, sorry that my wanting to discuss reality is getting in the way of your just culture vulture bullshit. um, but uh, let me shift gears away from the recursion thing. I like what I wanted to say about superintelligence. I'm not sure I did it quite did it justice, but um, then so this um, the part of this was meant to be a response to an in a IMF report. IMF is not a good organization. Um, it basically is a neo-colonial organization. I've said it in this way before. This is basically the U.S. and fascist West continuing the abuses of the colonial area through more sophisticated banking mechanisms. It's basically them kind of cheating at monopoly as a way to strip resources from other countries and manipulate the situation in that way because many of those colonial, some of those more directly colonial stratagems have um, been rightly viewed as a form of violence, but the actions of the IMF are equally violent. It's just involves more steps, slavery, but with more steps. Um, and so, um, who cares what the IMF says, right? Well, the IMF wrote this paper with a title, "Scenario Planning for an AGI Future," which suggests that the development of artificial intelligence will further decimate the job market at a faster rate than what occurred in the course of um, uh, the last century and so forth, as I described. No thanks to people like the IMF, um, and so what are they? Are they? Can they even be trusted to be telling the truth about something like this? A little. Um, can they be trusted at all to not be a part of the problem? Of course not. The fascist West will always be a part of the problem. Um, um, well, I'm not going to read anymore. This is I'm going to end the conversation now. If you uh, well, anyway, I'm thanks for your time, and we'll do this again another time.